Hey, and welcome back to the e-learning video series on BSF Biowaste Processing. This module in the BSF Rearing chapter will focus on the pre-pupae stage. After watching this module, you'll be able to describe the process parameters of this stage. You'll be able to assemble the pupation material in the crate. You'll be able to apply harvesting of the pre-pupae from the nursery laveros. You'll be able to execute dosing of the pre-pupae and portioning them into the pupation crates. And lastly, you'll be able to recognize the need for certain data and apply the procedures of collecting this data.
The process starts by emptying the outer crates where the pre-pupae have self-harvested in. And from there, the pre-pupae will be collected and counted, and then portioned related to the amount required for the pupation crates. And lastly, the pre-pupae will be added to the pupation crates where they start their pupation process.
The pre-pupae stage is sometimes called the last larval instar and comes after the larva stage, where the larvae have reached the age of around 22 days old. The evolving rate of the larvae into pre-pupae is about 95% in a controlled environment, meaning that about 95% of the larvae crawl out as pre-pupae from the nursery laveros. The duration of the pre-pupae stage is only 2 days, because when they are placed in the pupation material, they will quickly turn into the next phase, which is the pupae phase. As mentioned, they self-harvest from the lavero units, and they will find a suitable place in the pupation material to start the pupation process. We found that the max density is about 1 prepupa per cubic centimeter in the pupation material in the pupation boxes. And you can expect a mass range of between 170 and 230 milligram per prepupa after adding them to the pupation crates.
So for the operation of this pre-pupae stage, the required materials are a mixer for the compost and water mixing, the mature compost, water, pupation crate 16, an 80-liter bin for storing the compost. For the nursery lavero, you need an inner and outer container, a small pre-pupae harvest storage box, a bulk balance, a precision balance, the pre-pupae transfer cup, and a pupation rack to store the pupation crates. For the pre-pupae stage, the operation starts by preparing the pupation material for the new pupation containers. Pupation material is made up out of 2 components. There are 3 units of mature compost and 1 unit of water mixed into the pupation material. After mixing these components thoroughly, a crate is filled with 3 kilograms of pupation material. This operation is then repeated for the 16 pupation containers that are prepared on 1 day for 1 dark age. Then we harvest the pre-pupae together with the cocoa peat from the transfer container and separate the pre-pupae from the cocoa peat with a sieve. The empty transfer container is then filled again with cocoa peat, and the nursery container is placed in it again. The same process is repeated for each transfer container assigned to be harvested that day. Make sure you note down the weight of the harvested pre-pupae for each individual container for monitoring purposes. Then all boxes with pre-pupae harvested from all containers are pooled together. From these pooled pre-pupae, 2 samples of 200 pre-pupae are weighed, and its average is noted down. Then the last step is to transfer the 16 batches prepared into the 16 pupation boxes that have been prepared with pupation material. The same pupation boxes are filled with the same number of pre-pupae over several days, according to the respective schedule. So in terms of the activities related to the checklist, the activities related to the pre-pupae stage focused as a recap on preparation of the 60 new pupation boxes by mixing the compost and adding 3 kilograms per box and placing then the boxes in the pupation frame. Then the harvesting and processing operation where you sieve out the pre-pupae from the outer box, weigh the pre-pupae and prepare them for the transfer to the pupation boxes. And there is one operation which requires you to collect data, which is the weight calculation of the prepupae. So from each larvae, the prepupae are weighed, then they are mixed, and 2 samples of 200 are counted again, and then you enumerate the prepupae needed for that day and add them to the boxes. As for the data collection overview, this stage includes one data collection point, which is prepupae data. As you can see in the overview, you can note down the date of each nursery larvae where you harvest prepupae from. You can then note down the weight of the prepupae that you have harvested in this box. And then below there is space to collect the 2 samples of prepupae and write down the average.
We've almost reached the end of this module. Before we go to the summary, where we'll be looking back at the learning goals, we have the following 2 questions for you. The first question that you should try and answer for yourself is, why do prepupae leave the biowaste material? They do this because they lose the ability to feed, and they look for a suitable spot to start pupating. The following question is, how do you best recognize a prepupa? You recognize it because its skin color has changed from the white beige color of a larva into a brown gray color, which identifies the prepupa.
We've already come to the end of this module on the prepupae stage. In this module, we saw that the prepupae stage in the BSF life cycle comes before the pupae stage or the pupation stage and after the larval growth stage. We also saw that the prepupae self-collect by crawling out of the nursery larvae and that they are then harvested and placed in the pupation material. Lastly, we saw that data on the transformation rate of the larvae into the prepupae is currently collected to support the performance indicator points. Thank you for watching this module, part of the e-learning video series on BSF Biowaste Processing. More information can be found in the BSF step-by-step guide, which you can download through the QR code here. Both of these materials were part of the Forward project by EWAC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Works in Indonesia and funded by SECO, the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs.